Welcome back, guys. So, last week we talked about the word hatred. Today we're going to be talking about another word that's thrown around that people don't really agree on the definition of. Intelligence. What is it? Again, let's pull it up. Okay. The ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. Then there are a bunch of similes and euphemisms. Reason, acumen, rationale, perspicuousness. That's a new one to me. It's a word that signifies potential. It doesn't mean anything though. I'll tell you why I decided to do this video on intelligence. I was driving the other day, and this woman, who I find to be very intelligent and insightful, was going off on some issue about gender on a podcast. And her logic was sound, but it wasn't leading to the proper conclusions. She didn't have accurate or complete information, so she was wrong. She was wrong because she was uninformed. She was uninformed because, well, in my opinion, in my view, she was informed because she had no purpose to seek deeper understanding than the superficiality that her logic led her to. She's an attractive woman. Her worldview, her logic is informed by her experience, and her experience is that of a specific type of human being. The world isn't the same world for an attractive white woman in New York as it is for an unattractive guy living in Nebraska, for example. Why is it important? Because you're wrong doesn't mean that you're stupid. No. The stupidity is thinking that you're right when you don't know enough to come to proper conclusions, and your sound logic leads you to something like the idea that James Damore was fired for telling the truth, when that's not actually factually accurate. He was fired for being an asshole. People get fired for being an asshole all the time. Assholes aren't a protected class in our society. You have assholes cherry picking their data. You have intelligent, quote unquote, guys like Peterson denying climatologist data. You have them holding on to debunked racist bell curve bullshit. Smart people with bad data or incomplete data give way to shitty policy informed by, quote, experts. Experts used to recommend cigarette brands. 9 out of 10 physicians recommended Marlboro over Newport. Remember that? This is where you get flat earthers, birthers, climate change, and Holocaust deniers, anti-vaxxers. Smart people question the experts, okay, but so do stupid people for different reasons. Was 9/11 an inside job or a tragedy not left uncapitalized on? Experts say what the money tells them to sometimes. A groovy feature of capitalism. You get the reality and the worldview that you can afford. This is why right-wingers think Ben Shapiro is so intelligent. The same with Jordan Peterson. Peterson is intelligent, but is he right? Sometimes he isn't. He's incapable or unwilling to understand certain aspects of reality because he lacks or ignores the required levels of empathy. He can't or won't get away from his identity far enough to see reality from a broader vantage point in order to view reality in such a way that allows for more accuracy and precision in diagnosing social and cultural pathology. In my opinion, we agree to disagree too often. What does that even mean? Someone might say, Budweiser is the best beer. And I could disagree, or I could not. Someone says, racism and sexism doesn't really exist. It's just something brown people and women make up to make white guys feel guilty for being so amazing. And then you have a racist asshole run for president that doesn't agree with climatologists and pulls out of the Paris Accords, and we're all going to die because stupid motherfuckers just get to believe whatever they want. And what they want to believe conveniently coincides with the attitudes of the corporate conglomerates that they make a literal killing off of shitting all over people and the environment. No, we cannot agree to disagree about certain things like whether or not I get human rights based on someone else's belief that I'm subhuman because I'm brown or Jewish or a woman. Disagreements over shit like that end in violence, and that's beyond intelligence. War. Is war intelligent? Ever? Yeah, I think so. What is intelligence? Is it success? Is it an ability to use knowledge and apply skill to solve problems? Presumably, but it's stupid to make a problem up just for the sake of solving. And something I think that's what Europeans are trying to do in America 400 plus years after they, quote, discovered a new world. What was their problem? That there were too many undesirable people, too many poor people, the wretched refuse of their teeming shores, too few rich people. The gap between them was so vast and expansive that war was imminent. World War II would have happened much earlier in history if it had not been for the annexation of the Americas and Australia to send the deplorables of their societies. We don't have a new world anymore. And it was going on to some scale anyway, the war, I mean. We don't properly diagnose the roots of problems. We solve symptoms and wonder why we never get better. Experts tell us we're doing it wrong, and the results are going to be cataclysmic. What's intelligent about the way we function as a society? Is our representative democracy intelligent? Is our celebrity worship culture intelligent? Is it intelligent to pay doctors and nurses and teachers and firemen obscenely lower wages than our entertainers, our distractors, our celebrities? Do we organize ourselves into these stupid classes, or are they encouraged externally? There is no good reason for a billionaire to exist. It's obscene that so few have so much and so many have so little to work with. We have the means to solve a lot of problems that we just don't, because human beings aren't a priority to us. We don't care about one another. Is that intelligent? Is it intelligent to charge more money for insulin in the United States than in Mexico when it was designed here? R&D here that your taxes went to pay for, and that's the excuse that they give you for the reason why it's so expensive. We have to pay for the R&D. No, it's already been paid for by you, the taxpayer. And now you're getting your prices jacked because they're gouging insurances. Is that intelligent? Is nationalism intelligent? What are its pluses and minuses? What about globalism? Is globalism intelligent? Nazis think globalists is a code word for Jew and that they're trying to enslave the entire planet. Ain't that ironic? Freedom, security, competition over cooperation. That's intelligent. Who's deciding what is or isn't intelligent? I'm not asking. I'm telling you what we're doing is stupid and narrow and short-sighted, and it's going to result in the failure of our species to avoid extinction. What's the measure of success? Is death a problem? Some people think so. They're trying to solve it. Is it a good idea? I don't know. You want to see another war in heaven? The Bible tells us that there was a war in heaven. If heaven is heaven, then how the fuck did a war start there? War is hell. What was hell doing in heaven? If heaven is heaven. What was God doing cutting deals with the devil? The book of Job tells us some very true things, but it's telling the truth despite itself. Before you use knowledge to apply skill successfully, you need to understand the actual problem. And to do that, you have to be honest. And can you be honest when somebody's paying you money to be less than? What about if your survival requires money? Will you lie in order to exist? This is why our species is fucked. The self-destruct gene. Will you be honest if it means you'll be a homeless hobo ranting about the end of days on the corner of the liquor store? Does poverty scare you enough to be full of shit and play along with the work/money stupidity game? It worked, okay? It got us to where we are. Now what though? It's not working anymore. Maybe I'm not operating on complete information. That's probable. It's probably absolutely true. I don't have all the answers, but I don't have all the information either. And that's not because I'm not looking for it. It's hidden. They're hiding it from us. We're being lied to. We're being deceived and misled. For our own good? Possibly. It's possible that the information being kept from us is to protect us from some even dumber motherfuckers that are in charge. If that were true, we wouldn't be allowed to elect imbeciles to represent us on behalf of the more conservative ideologues among us, though, right? We want freedom, right? And America is free, right? We're free. We don't want to be forced to be educated. We don't want to be We want the freedom to be uneducated and stupid. To force people into education camps is a violation of people's right to be stupid and uninformed, right? I don't want you teaching my kid about your godless, atheistic Marxism, fucking science bullshit. I want my kid to believe the Bible, and that's all that they need to know anything about, right? That's what our society is going to be predicated on. A democracy. A democracy requires the public's participation. We get what we deserve, I suppose. The American experiment. Is it succeeding? Is it failing? Time will tell, I suppose. And I wish George Carlin were here to see us now. He described us to a T. You know, in 2019, decades ago, he was describing exactly how we were. And he could have predicted this shit. And wherever George Carlin is, that's where I want to go when I die. Whenever you get anxiety about death, you just think of someone that you love that's departed, and you think to yourself, that wherever that place is where you belong. If it's heaven, if it's oblivion, you won't be the first. You aren't a pioneer, okay? You know, everyone is going to die. You're not going to be the first one. You shouldn't be afraid of things that are inevitable. It's a waste of time. That's unintelligent. Existential fear is a waste of time. So you want to know what motivates me negatively? To be honest with you, success is my greatest fear. Why? Because with it becomes responsibility. That's God nature type shit there. How could you live with yourself knowing you're responsible for life? And the suffering becomes inherently with the integrating with the Ouroboros, the Leviathan, the chevron symbol, the stripes and stars, the pentagrams, hexagrams. Not for me, my dude. You know, with success comes a lot of heavy shit. I don't think people really fully respect the situation. It's like parenthood. I had to be sure I was prepared to be a parent, that I was mature enough, that I knew myself to the extent that I could incorporate that aspect of life into mine. To be a father is to be a miniature God. And it's not a big deal, right? Stupid people have kids all the time. How hard could it possibly be? That depends on how seriously you take your responsibility. That depends on how much you respect life. How aware are you of what you stand to lose here? You're gonna lose your life here. That's part of the deal. What else you got? What's yours that you get to keep forever? You know, they say they can't take it with you. What do you take with you? And can you lose that? Do you know who and what you are? I'm you and you're me, and we're stuck on stupid with one another. When you love, you willfully accept a grief, a sorrow that belongs in the bowels of hell. You take that on when you buy a ticket to this carnival. A lot of people are in the carnival and they think it's a fun house, but behind the curtains and in the basement is a slaughterhouse, blood and fire. And I'm in this carnival with you. I'll take a second to explain. Some of you guys complain that I'm vague or that I talk over your heads and I don't make sense. And this might be one of those instances. Carnival is what Natalie Merchant's song is about, you know. Carne, meaning flesh, and evol, you can figure that one out. It actually means to remove the flesh, or to remove the spirit from the flesh. It's a festival to celebrate the removal of the spirit from the flesh. You go down to Brazil during Carnival, and it's an orgy, and there's a barbecue going on. It's a festival, a last feast of flesh, or supper before the 40 days of Lent. Okay, car, the word, the thing that you drive around in, that you call a car. The roots of these words all have something to do with vessels that spirits used to move around through time and space in this universe. Karma, carne, all sort of define things around the idea of the distinction between the material and the spirit. You know, the wind and the body, or the flesh. The 666. Maybe you don't know that the number of the beast is found within you. It's in your blood. 666, the number of the beast. It describes your DNA. The carbon molecule has 6 neutrons, protons, and electrons. Carbon. Car. Okay, you get that fucking CAR root word again. Google it. You know, follow the links around. Some of this shit will probably blow your mind. So we're all reflections of divinity manifest in 3D carbon, and it's stupid to think I can separate myself from you. Why would I want to do that? If I love life, then wouldn't I want to respect it? If we're brothers, then wouldn't I want what's best for you? If you're Abel, maybe not. If you're Jacob, maybe not. Sometimes brothers murder and steal from one another. Why? Because we divide. We think we're separate. We get lost and don't know what the hell we're doing and who we are and what we're doing here. And we forget. We actually experience a reality that is a dream within a dream. You want to know what happens when you die? Your consciousness leaves your body. It happens every time you go to sleep. You experience some kind of reality that isn't this one, but it's based on this one. And you're actually in control of it, whether or not you think you are. You're conscious, you're super conscious, or you're id, or whatever. Some element of you is controlling a world while you sleep. You wake up, you don't remember your dreams. Sometimes you do. Sometimes for a little while. That's the nature of the program. The system is to make you lose your memory. If you remember too much, it clogs up the processor. So you must sleep. You must dream. You'll lose your mind if you don't sleep. You'll die sooner for lack of sleep than for lack of food. Sleep deprivation is very bad for you. It's a form of torture. And what's good for you? And what's best for you? Who decides what's best for you? You do, right? How do you know what's best for you when you don't know yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you relate with yourself? Do you relate with yourself as if you're someone that you are responsible for? Do you love yourself? How do you express it? Do you respect yourself? Do you? Do you lie to yourself? We all do, a little. We have to, because the culture and civilization that we live in is built around the denial of reality. The denial of reality that most of us are slaves and are just unaware of it. You love yourself. What is love? Let's look that up while we're talking about it. Do you know the 7 types of love? Eros, Eros meaning romantic, philia being friendship, storge being parental love, agape being universal love, strangers and God, the love we reserve for the universe, strangers and God. Lupus, the love we have for friends, specifically friends with benefits. Pragma, practical love, pragmatism, the love of work or duty, the love of service. Or philatia, which is self-love, auto being self, and phile being love. Is love intelligent? Yeah. It's also dumb as fuck, dude. Dumb as fuck. Love is irrational. Love is fucking crazy. Is sex intelligent? Yeah, it's more intelligent than a lot of people. For a lot of us, the sex drive program is running the operating system. It's in charge. These people, mostly men, but sometimes women, can be sex monsters. A lot of religious men have their psyches consumed and possessed by the shadow sex monster, the six monster, the number of the beast, the sixes. It comes from suppressed or repressed kundalini. And it's the cause of a lot of pain and suffering in the world. It's an energetic serpent. When it can't move properly, it becomes resentment. And that manifests as a desire to harm the self or others. If you can do both, well, that's efficiency. You get to cause damage and feel shame so you can be the perpetrator and the victim and play both parts. These pedophiles are tortured souls. They're tortured by the monsters that they've become, and they become the monsters they are in the same way vampires are turned, from one to the next. They're ostensibly energetic and karmic vampires, and they hate themselves. Unlike a lot of us, they know what they are. And self-hatred is the first step to self-gnosis. They hold a covenant with the Leviathan. And they feel it inside them. They feel shame because they will to believe lies, and the shame causes them to repress, and the repression makes it grow deeper and stronger. And the church offers relief by providing a sanctuary from their desire to sin. But it knows goddamn well what it's doing. It's intentional. It's intelligent. It's creating sexual monsters because sex is so powerful that you must control it if you are to control a people as slaves. You don't let slaves express themselves sexually. They don't get autonomy. You create the slave mentality by repressing sexual energy. When masculinity cannot be expressed naturally, it becomes perverted. And then you get toxic masculinity, and toxic masculinity is necessary to build empires because warriors and slaves are required. And the sexuality of men must be controlled as much or more so than women. And women's sexuality is easier to control because it can be controlled physically. Rape culture and patriarchy. Men's sexuality must be controlled psychologically. That's harder. And that's where religion comes into the equation, and that's where you get the trauma, circumcision, blood rituals, all that shit. Controlling sex is critical. It's also futile. Okay? If you're alive right now, you're likely going to see the end result of some sexual kundalini energetic suppression and diversion. In fact, you're seeing it now in the swelling of transgenderism, the trending sexual revolution on the one side, and then you got the Epsteins and the elite cabal of kid fuckers on the other. One of them is obscene and vile, and they prey on children and are protected by the authority of the church and the state. And the other are being made to feel shame for existing honestly, relating with their sexuality genuinely in an honest and healthy way by the very church and state that protects pedophiles and their devotees. You see how backwards that is? Maybe you don't. That plank can be a doozy. Is sex intelligent? There's nothing sane or rational about it. It's nuts. It's subconscious. It's intuitive. We're attracted to specific traits in people. Not all of them are predicated on the natural impulse to procreate, though. Sex isn't just about procreation. Freud was honest about some shit when he said everything is about sex except sex, and sex is about neurotic compulsion. Sex drive is a powerful force that it compels life to perpetuate itself, even though life is inherently sorrowful. Sex is so amazing that organisms will risk actualizing in this carnival and all that comes with it, the suffering and the death, to experience orgasm and subject new life to this ridiculous shit show. That's vampiric. That's the vampiric nature of the Ouroboros. So, sex is about vulnerability. What's vulnerability about? Fear, desire, pushing and pulling forces, opposition, unity and conflict, positive and negative energy and consciousness. Life is wild, right? It is. Life is chaos and order. You have to really examine shit to determine which is which because they change into each other over time, though. It's always balanced. It's self-regulating over time. It never goes too far one side or for too long because it auto-corrects. Self-preservation is intelligence. When I realized this upon watching it, it eased my anxiety and my depression profoundly. I acquired the knowledge of how the universe operates and skillfully applied it to my own psychology, my own psychological pathology. The pathology comes from being lied to by elders you love and trust because you already know, and you know you're being lied to, even when you're a kid. It's confusing and it's isolating. You're being gaslighted by your culture. And if you're stupid, you're proud of that. And that's not an accident. They want you proud of your stupidity. It guarantees you'll never break those chains of ignorance because they can trust you to guard the lock of your own chains. That's how fucking stupid pride, racism shit, racial superiority, that's how that fucking functions. And they do that shit on purpose. Intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills, right? That's the definition. Okay. The first part of the definition is ability. Where does the ability come from? Does it come from you, yourself, your brain? Is it external? You know what I mean? If I live on a tropical island, what types of knowledge or skills do I need and can self-provide juxtaposed against what my environment supplies with me? Well, we got to know what intelligence is if we're going to measure it. It's a problem with fucks like Molyneux and Murray, and even St. Peterson, has culturally informed understanding of what intelligence actually is. Why should we measure it? Why do we measure it? Because we need specific societal roles filled with people who are capable and competent. Society doesn't work otherwise. Why do we need societies? Because our species survival relies on cooperation among the individuals. Why is our species survival important? It's actually not. We aren't that big a deal. We exist now as such, but We haven't always, and we won't always. We will evolve into something else. Even if we must take our evolution into our own hands, we have to figure out what we are, though, or else we run the risk of extincting ourselves. It wouldn't be the first time. We've been stupid in the past. We'll be stupid again. We seem to have been programmed with a self-destruct gene. Can we override it? Yeah. Should we? I don't know. It could be bad for us. How bad? Well, it could exterminate us, which would be contrary to the point of implementing it. But that might be better for the entire planet. You know, it could be worse than that. We could immortalize ourselves and then create hell and send immortals there to ostensible eternities for our punitive system. If our punitive system is as unjust as it is now, we'll be condemning the better angels of our nature to perdition, to a hell that I described in my Cthulhu and Chelsea Manning video. You know we do crazy shit as a species, right? When we first tested the atomic bomb, scientists thought it was possible that it might initiate the atmosphere and completely wipe all life off the planet, causing a conflagration of the atmosphere that would render our world to something resembling Mars. We still did it. When we built the Hadron Collider in Switzerland, we thought it might create a black hole and then turn the universe inside out. It may have collapsed our dimension, and two separate dimensions overlapped, and we're living in an alternate dimension, like an amalgamation of the two, or three, or five, or however many. And they say it could possibly turn our world into clown world, where clowns rule over the people. Evil clowns in the White House. Could you believe that? We still did it. Our universe's time-space continuum was radically altered. We still built the goddamn thing. Is that intelligent? Curiosity killed, or didn't kill, Schrodinger's cat. What's driving this curiosity deeper today is that we're on the precipice of an Alan Turing level AI that can change reality as we experience it as humans. So we need to understand that lest we become inferior to it, like Frankenstein monster. You know, Mary Shelley's Prometheus. He stole fire from the gods to give to man, right? He stole from the gods to make men as gods are. And we're designed in their image. Let us go down and create them in our image. The word, intelligent, creativity. Is that a synonym for intelligence? What about imagination? Does that inform intelligence? Do you think they might have anything to do with intelligence, or is it just limited to knowledge acquisition and skill application? You see what I mean? What is intelligence? Suppose I know the square root of the speed of light, but I live in a tropical island rainforest where all of my needs and wants are provided for by my environment. I have no natural enemies or predators. My community is relatively peaceful, so I eat pineapples, drink rum, build ukuleles, write songs on them, and then just relax and enjoy the company of hot brown chicks with coconuts on their tits. You know, what good is my intellect doing me there? Why does she have to have coconuts on her tits? She doesn't. Okay, we invented that. We invented that shit because Europeans are stupid and think breasts are obscene. Why do they think that? My theory is that it has something to do with culture, of dominance over nature, and the feminine nature of Gaia, or the planet, informed by a slave owner's manual and a war god around 5,000 years ago to establish a patriarchal empire founded upon the principles of might makes right. You force women to cover their breasts for the same reason you don't leave valuables on the front seat of your car when you park it, lest some scumbag see it, can't contain himself from stealing it. We force women to cover themselves because our culture is predicated on property rights over human rights. And those titties don't belong to the woman. They belong to the husband or the father that woman belongs to. And that's rape culture. That's patriarchy. That's really why natives don't wear clothes, because they're pointless in their environment, culture, in their natural habitat. They aren't operating on a scarcity mentality. Capitalism artificially creates a scarcity mentality because it needs it to function. And that's why you have so many stupid fucking advertisements. You know, they spend billions and billions on advertisements to get you to buy. How much do you think they're making off of your consumption? Shit you don't even want or need. They have to they have to talk you into it with advertisements. And they'll spend billions to do it. Capitalism is stupid. Okay? Do 5 grams and look at yourself. You tell me why the fuck you wear clothes. And you'll know too. That's the thing. So we have knowledge and then we have gnosis. And they overlap, but they aren't exactly the same thing. Could someone teach you how to see? Can you be taught to be a visionary? I don't think so. You can go to Peru and do the ayahuasca ritual and you're gonna see some shit, but I'm guessing you won't know what the fuck you're looking at and it isn't gonna heal most of you. Most of you will turn something sacred and powerful into a fucking bumper sticker or a t-shirt. You go to the mall, you get on Amazon, you go on Amazon.com, go through the fucking enlightenment t-shirts, keyword enlightenment. So you're gonna find a t-shirt that says, I got enlightened in Peru and all I got was a stupid fucking t-shirt. That's America. Am I enlightened? How would I know? There are no shadows on the sun. What am I doing? I'm learning to experience the soul through a human vessel by relating with this species evolution from amoeba to Hyperion. Do you think that we're the last stage of evolution before God? I don't. We aren't. We're not the apex predator in the universe. We aren't even close, okay? On the evolutionary scale, we're barely like a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. We're like a 6 on the hierarchy. And y'all DeBale is like a 6.66. That's why he thinks he's a he. And why he's so goddamn insecure and jealous and wrathful, afraid to die, okay? This dimension is only the third. We're like ants, okay? In this vastness of the infinite, we're literally smaller than ants. There are creatures that eat planets whole that are the size of ours. Hunters of the shadow, Yog-Sothoth. They're out there, massive and cosmic monstrosities, devouring solar systems. We're really small, dude. That's all I'm saying. We're microbials. We are. We're the smartest monkeys on the planet right now, though. Evolution or hybrid theory? Okay, so I'm sorry. No. The architect of the universe created us in his image. We're stuck on a blue marble. Wait, no. It's a disc in the middle of fucking nowhere. But we're special. And just ever so slightly removed from divinity by the Almighty himself. Just long enough to do some work, build some temples, worship him 1 day a week, and ignore him for 6 of the others, make a fucking mess of the place, extinct a few species kicking around here or there, pay some taxes, make some money, slam and reproduce, and then die. May spawn and die. That's you, motherfucker. You're a member of the second most intelligent species on the whole world next to God. And that's what you do. By the way, cockroaches would survive a nuclear holocaust that we wouldn't. Are cockroaches intelligent? How much of intelligence is just random chance? How much is just dumb luck? You don't choose. You're born with the wattage your bulb has. It's an accident of birth. Your IQ has nothing to do with your character or worth. We shouldn't use it to determine how shitty one's life or the value of it is. It's not your fault that you were born into a species as stupid as ours and not as enlightened as cockroaches. Okay? Intelligence. That's the ability to acquire knowledge and apply it. How do we apply it? How do we know we're intelligent? Because we made the atom bomb? Because we make iPhones and airplanes and drink milk and make fun of vegans? Yeah. We do all that cool shit. We do some pretty fucking cool shit until you realize how stupid, meaningless, and pointless it all is. It's fucking dumb. I'm referencing Joe Rogan right here. He talks about bombing in the beginning of his career, bombing in the terms of being a shitty comedian. That if you aren't failing, that you aren't progressing, you aren't developing, you're not pushing your boundaries. That's the thing about intelligence, is that it isn't innate. You got to work for it. It comes through experience. As a symbol or word, it's informed by more than just the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. It's a willingness to fail. What about curiosity? What about innovation? First-hand knowledge, imagination, memory. You see what I mean? There are people that can learn things but have no imagination at all. They see things only as they're told to see them, and those people are considered intelligent because they know things. They have to be smart to be a neuroscientist. Do you? I don't know that. You have to have some credentialing. You need to have a license to practice medicine in this country. Do you have to be smart to obtain one? You have to be smart to be a doctor or lawyer? Do you? You know, rich people buy their credentials all the time. Children of wealthy people have access to education and they buy degrees. It's no meritocracy. It's entirely luck based. It's never been about what you know or how smart you are. It's always been about who you know and how much money your parents have. You have to be as clever or intelligent as Donald Trump or George Bush to be president, right? You have to be a problem solver, right? That's how we quantify intelligence. You know, take the bar exam, for example. It's a bunch of problems that you have to figure out as quickly as possible. That's an aspect of it. Okay, you have to fill in the correct bubble with the number 2 pencil as quickly as possible because you're competing with other monkeys who are also filling in as many correct bubbles as they can. Why are the brain monkeys filling in the bubbles? Because they want to be lawyers. What's a lawyer? It's a person whose contribution to society is to lie on behalf of the state or the accused. That's basically what a lawyer is, isn't it? You know, why would somebody want to do that? Because it pays well, it's fun, it's a game that you get to play where when you win, someone else has to live in a cage for a little while, or maybe forever, and in some cases die. Or when you lose, the murderer that your adversary represented gets to go back to the living among us in society, like OJ did, depending on whether or not you're a prosecutor or a defender. You know, and the best part is that the laws that are written by idiots and are generally unscrupulous motherfuckers. The better question to ask then, rather than why do the brain monkeys play the scribble the lead into this to the circle fast game, is why do we accept a society that operates in such a stupid way? It's also a prestigious occupation. They hold high positions in the social pyramid, so they have access to better provisions and mating options. So what though? You know, when all is revealed and all are honest, they'll be obsolete. Lawyers and locksmiths will be useless. Automated. Our society, as it is fucked up, corrupt, narrow-sighted, and stupid. I know. Don't say that unless my room's made, right? Let me make sure my bed's made before I say something like, the way we organize society is fucking stupid. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm doing this podcast from my bedroom today because it's the only place I could. So, bed's made. Folded the blankets on my bed, so now my opinion's relevant. Regardless of how well we believe our society is functioning, we need to check it. We need to check in with it and reassess shit from time to time. I learned this from Krishnamurti. He's smart. It's that even shit that works needs to be reevaluated, because when we fidget around over here to make this operation more efficient over here, there's always unintended consequences over there that may render something that was useful at one time redundant and ridiculous in the next, or maybe even detrimental. You know, what's a good example of this? It happens a lot in language, but it happens in customs and traditions too. Okay, here's an example. Right now, you're watching or listening to me talk about intelligence on a device of some type. It could be called a tablet, a television, a cell phone, a laptop, a desktop, whatever. The image and sound that you're picking up through the screen into your retina or your cochlea, and then processed as information by your brain into experience, and then cycle through a memory association so you understand what sonic symbols, words, or images that I'm organizing are being captured or recorded and replicated in time-space by a device called a cell phone. Now, why is it called a cell phone? Well, does it replace a telephone? Did it? A tablet? Is it a little table? You know, the function is a million miles from what it was named after based on its practical and intended use. What was it designed to do, and what has it been implemented and modified to do? Cars have horsepower. The dashboard on your computer screen is named after the dashboard on your car, which was named after the dashboard of a horse-drawn carriage. In the Bible, we're told not to eat pork. Why? It was making people sick because they were handling it improperly. The solution was science. Before it was science, it was superstition. And Jews and Muslims still refuse to eat it. They refuse to modify their behavior to adjust for new circumstances. That's what Indiana Jones and MacGyver were famous for, right? MacGyver would take some chewing gum, a match, and a piece of string and implement an explosive device to blow up the inner mechanical workings of his handcuffs, and then he'd escape, right? He was amazing. It was fascinating watching him apply his knowledge. Genius. What about a sense of humor? Does that involve intelligence? You have to have an objective and critical mind to find the awkward and subtle nuances in a culture, right? Why do we laugh? What's laughter all about? What's the psychology on laughter? What's the evolutionary purpose or function? It has a couple. I don't know. I'm speculating. Most of the shit I just make up. I don't know this. It's either data or it's my speculation. I told you this on like fucking episode 1. But I would speculate that it's because of the release of dopamine. Dopamine makes people like each other. It's a signifier of commonality. When we get it, we share something communal, tribal. We are of one people. We trust each other. Our common culture is a basis for bonding over dirty jokes. That's one reason. Not the only one, though. There's a spiritual one, too. You remember when I was telling you about the laughter of Jesus? The spiritual laughter is what gets you through the shadow gate. When you come to the shadow gate, the edge of life and death, you're faced by some terrifying beings. They're reavers, wraiths, they're demons, they're gatekeepers. And they're also fake. They're gargoyles. They're unbelievably frightening, though. They're as real as anything in this reality. They want to devour you, your life force. They feed on fear. When you know yourself and trust yourself, you see them for what they are. And they're ridiculous as this reality is. The fear turns to laughter. Grief also becomes laughter when you receive gnosis. It's beautiful in its madness. Sometimes the laughter is the shadow gate, though, so be careful. I heard a story about a tank gunner in Iraq that was mowing down Iraqis with a 50 caliber machine gun, and he was just disassociated. Like he said, he recalled hearing laughter, and realized he had dissociated himself, and a shadow had overcome his psyche. He was watching himself laugh maniacally at his indiscriminate butchering of human lives. He was playing the role of the war god, the Yalda Baal. He was being used as a vessel for war. He realized the laughter he heard was coming from him, but it wasn't him. And he was shocked and horrified by what he was doing. That took in a moment, it snapped. He was possessed. He's still tortured by it. The same thing possesses and compels predator priests. It's literally a possession. You get possessed when you make art or music, or sex sometimes too, but that's by a different god. Okay? Those are the gods of love and light. And you got the god of war, who is in charge down here. Okay, the other gods kind of become secondary. They're still important. That's why they bribe artists so much with so much money to buy them off. That's why they make so much money in this stupid, ridiculous culture. If you're having a religious experience, you think you're dying, you're terrified. The darkness is closing in. You're gripped by fear, squeezing the light out of you and filling you with sheer terror. So what do? You really don't have a choice. You process it. That's the only thing you can do. You see yourself, you observe yourself fighting like hell to adhere to something, but there's nothing but darkness. But that's not you. You're just watching your lower consciousness flail and struggle and panic. That's not you. You're processing the carnival. You're watching the intelligence of the matter revolt. What does that mean? It goes like that. The body doesn't want to die. It was programmed to protect you. You understand? Your body has a mind of its own. And its mission is to protect you until you have outgrown it. until you've outgrown the outer husk that is your material physical form. When it no longer fits in you, when you no longer fit inside of it or identify with it, but it still clings to you. It still does its job. It's like a dog, okay? You're being devoured by the dark, by the oblivion, entropy, and you are the physical manifestation of fear. At least your body is, but you're conscious though. You got to do what Christ did as an example in his last moment: command your spirit to the divine, to the selfless, to the whole. You must sacrifice everything you hold dear, including your sense of self, and let go, and surrender, and submit. To become nothing is to become everything. And you have to take that leap of faith into oblivion. You must overcome your instinct for self-preservation. You have to defy your intelligence and do something irrational like love. Like love is irrational. You remember the first time you dived into the pool when you were a kid, how scared you were? You just made yourself do it. You just said, I'm doing it. And then you did it. And you just, the whole time your body's like, whoa, 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 whoa. By then it was too late. You had taken over. That's what you have to do. You know? Oppenheimer, when he developed and dropped the first atomic, when he developed and dropped the first atomic bomb, he said, now I am become death, destroyer of worlds. But you got to be more like, now I am become love, creator of worlds. Because that shit's in the Bhagavad Gita too, right? It's not all negative shit. It's both. In this moment, time changes sides. At that moment, time finally starts working on your side. It stands still. Because time is relative, dude. There are places in this universe where time doesn't even fucking exist. It's like always eternity there. Like on the event horizons of black holes. I'm telling you my experience. Where I got certain information that I translated into knowledge, I knew I was alive, and I knew that was a moment away from death. I was staring into sheer terror into the abyss. I was looking at oblivion. I was processing it, integrating the experience into my consciousness and psyche. Every sense amplified. Spinal Tap 11. When you look through the darkness, it's black beyond black. So you close your eyes and what do you see? Geometric patterns of light and frequency pulsating to the cosmic rhythm, to your heart beating. You realize you aren't breathing and so you gasp. Air fills your lungs. Your lungs pull in air and oxygen molecules are extracted and sent into the bloodstream toward your brain and heart and your extremities, your muscles. How does your body know how to suck oxygen molecules to use as an oxidizer for metabolic combustion? Because it's intelligent. Because it's intelligent? I don't know. Is it? Did it acquire knowledge and apply skill? I don't. You're goddamn right it's intelligent, but it didn't do that. Apply that to every organic life form, though. It's all intelligent. Does it have to be conscious in order for it to be intelligent? Self-conscious? No. Not in my opinion. What's conscious? What's consciousness? Are rocks conscious? Is metal conscious? What about plastic? Why does it know why does it know not to be something else? What's keeping rocks and styrofoam behaving according to their molecular composition? Because it knows what it is. How does it know what it is? And do you acquire knowledge and apply skill from what? The self. To me, that's what defines intelligence. You see a problem, what is it? Let's go basic. Your problem is, it's fucking hot and arid in the desert where you are. Now, a smart motherfucker would just move. Move toward a more hospitable domain. In that sense, Hawaiians and Costa Ricans were the most intelligent humans on the planet at the time they inhabited those regions. Europeans, the superior race, they stayed where they were, and over time devised ways by which to survive their hostile environments. They decided it was more energetically efficient to combat the elements than to relocate. The result of that is what's passing itself off as racial supremacy to some folks. Motherfuckers were too dumb or stubborn to relocate, but goddamn if they didn't figure out how to endure those winters and summers, the extremities in those hostile environments. We're products of our environment, right? Well, Europeans' environment is hostile. They're at war with nature. They develop tools to dominate their environment. Now the environment is still dominated, but they can't turn off their nature. We don't know when enough is enough. They don't know they won, and so they still fight like a cancer, cellular growth without regulation. That's what's going on here. This planet can maintain human beings that function within its systems, but it cannot survive perpetual dominance programming in a human nature. Some people actually believe that white European Homo sapiens aren't native to this planet, and that's why they have such disdain or disrespect for it. It's not my theory, but it does make sense to me. Terence McKenna describes going to Peru to take the sacramental compound known as ayahuasca. He describes going down there and finding a very primitive culture judged by modern standards. You got a bunch of naked brown dudes drinking tea. It's a sacramental compound. What does it do? It reduces you to zero. It shows you everything. It shows you everything. Time, the past, present, and future all at once, and all equal in significance. It shows you yourself. It shows you death, but it shows you the opposite of death, and it isn't life. It shows you what Jesus told you. It shows you that love is the light that will guide you through the valley of the shadow of death. It shows you what love is. What is love? Love is the law. So intelligence is recognition. Okay? All learning is remembering. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know that you can only learn what you already know. And that has everything to do with what you understand as truth. The more you learn, the more the truth changes. That's the point. So now you're going to hear people say, yeah, but the truth is absolute. It's not subjective. It doesn't change. We're not entitled to our own truths. The truth is the only thing that doesn't change. Facts don't care about your feelings, that type of stupid shit. Well, all these changes aren't permanent, but change is. So what's true today isn't going to be true tomorrow. You have three types of people, and two of them are indistinguishable. Okay? First, you have people, they're too stupid and oblivious to know that they're in danger. They mill around about their lives subconsciously, but it appears to be unconscious. They know there's something dark going on in the funhouse, but they don't really want to look at it, so they pretend it isn't there. You know, they're the reason that religions exist. They've outsourced their death anxiety to an authority, and they take no responsibility for themselves. But yet they claim that responsibility for themselves is the highest principle of conservatism. The second type of people, they know that they ought to be frightened. They're aware of the impending doom. They're aware of the slaughterhouse in the basement of the funhouse. They aren't naive. A lot of times they're neurotic, though, because they haven't outsourced their death anxiety to religion. They run the risk of becoming nihilistic. They're cynical. They seem more intelligent, less naive. These are the intellectuals. These are the scientists, the professors, the lawyers. And then you got the Gnostic or the shaman that appear to the world to be completely stupid and delusional because he isn't afraid, like the moron isn't, but he also isn't cynical like the intellectual is. His intelligence looks like stupidity to moderate intelligence. You know, too stupid to know what to fear. He's not too stupid to know what to fear. He just knows. He knows what's causing the fear. He's familiar with it at that point, and so he's no longer afraid of it. And he's not motivated by fear or desire. Okay, so that's the third type of people. They're very rare. People sometimes think I'm one of them. I don't know if I'm one of them or not, because I still exist in the realm of the materialist. Okay, I don't know. I honestly don't see the point. I don't think that reducing my life and taking on that level of suffering isn't going to help anybody. I think I'm more helpful to humanity, to society, doing what I'm doing right now, being an example, somebody that works a job and is a contributing member of society and as a father, a parent. I think I'm serving my people better by doing this than I would be by ranting on a corner of a liquor store. I mean, even though I'm telling the same truths to different people. So, So that's a problem. We solve problems through attacking that which threatens our existence or convenience. And we think to ourselves, what's on the moon? We don't know. What's up there? Is it important? We don't know. Well, how do we know the moon isn't harboring some existential threat to humanity? We ought to figure out what it is. I know a couple of rocket scientists. One of them was explaining to me the slingshot method we used to propel the Cassini mission to Saturn. Timing is everything when you're trying to put a camera on something as far away as Saturn. We waited until Saturn was in a specific position to the Sun and in a relationship to us in its orbital cycle. My friend told me that it is comparable to firing a bullet at another bullet. The math required is stupefying. The knowledge of physics is dumbfounding. I know what intelligence is, and I have a fucking sliver of it, okay? I'm a moron compared to some of the men and women that I know. I worked on the Titan program with. October 15, 1997, two Titan IV rockets launched the Cassini probe, not exactly towards Saturn, but toward where Saturn would be by the time the probe would reach the location. It was kind of like a blind date. We used the gravity of the Sun and the planets Venus and Jupiter to accelerate the probe to Saturn. My friend called it a slingshot effect. I Googled it. NASA is calling it gravity assist flybys. Here's the trajectory chart from NASA. This is some intelligent shit that I know about. This isn't the most intelligent shit there is. The smartest shit, I'm likely oblivious to, completely unaware of. The avant-garde of intelligence right now probably isn't rocket science anymore. You know, I'm thinking it's in genetic biology or epigenetic or even new alternative energenetics or silicone IT. That shit is probably as complex but substantially more relevant to the lives of your average human being. At least to their level of consciousness. People are largely unaware of how influential Saturn is on their daily lives. Even as they peruse the horoscope in their daily newspaper, your taxes paid for a probe to go there, and it took 19 years and 335 days for the mission to be completed. It was completed September 15th, 2017. Why would we expend so much time and energy to explore Saturn? Well, our ancestors used to worship it as God. Okay? How did they even know about it? Why did they attach so much significance to it? Because Saturn is our Time Lord. Saturn is Kronos. Saturn tells us things about the cosmic order. Saturn tells us what time it is. Now, we named a day after it, Saturday. It's the Sabbat. It's the Jewish holy day. Why? Because they worship Saturn. Saturnalia is fucking Christmas, though. You Christian motherfuckers don't get off the hook. It's all related to this shit. Saturnalia is Christmas. We can't know anything if we're being lied to, or if we're lying to ourselves. And that's what I want to get at. That's what I want for myself and my species, so we can move on into better conflicts than this stupid shit. Okay, it's served its purpose. It's tired, and it's working against us at this point. So, the ability to acquire knowledge and apply skill. Is that the definition of intelligence? Did I properly define the word? I don't know. You tell me. You know, to what end and for what cause? We're intelligent enough to develop Wunderwaffen, a wonder weapon, a nuclear weapon. But we're too stupid to recognize one another as common species. We still believe in cultural or racial superiority. We still pass around green paper magic sigils in exchange for necessities and luxuries in equal measures, unequally. You know, we can't universally define love or intelligence. So let's close with another Einstein quote. Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the universe. I'm sure about this podcast, though. This one's over. Thanks for watching.